All right, I see some folks are trickling in. Just want to thank you all for joining. Welcome to the Visualizing and Analyzing Integrated Deforestation Alert Systems webinar. My name is Isabella Barriga. I'll be your moderator today. I'm Engagement Specialist with Global Forest Watch. Today's webinar is focused on the new integrated deforestation alert layer available on GFW. Given the complementary methodologies of GLAD-L, GLAD-S2, and the RADD alerts, GFW has recently integrated these three deforestation alert systems. Before we get started, I wanted to provide a quick explainer on how you can ask questions during the webinar. If you have a question throughout the presentation, please enter it in the Q&A button below. We will have time for questions at the end, and we will also be sharing a recording of this webinar as well as a copy of this presentation within the next few business days. At the end of the webinar, a survey will also populate on your screen where you can share any feedback on our webinar as well as on the new integrated alert layer. We appreciate any feedback that you may have. Slide, please. I'd like to introduce today's speakers. This includes Jessica Webb, Colin Steve, and Teresa Schofield from GFW. Jessica Webb is a senior manager for global engagement with GFW. She leads efforts to ensure that civil society organizations and other local users around the world have access to the information they need to sustainably manage and promote accountability by decision makers. Colin Steve is a product manager for Global Forest Watch, and he oversees the development of Forest Watcher, which is a mobile application enabling offline use of GFW's spatial data. You'll hear more from Colin during our Forest Watcher demo. And we're also joined by Teresa. She is a product specialist for the Global Forest Watch platform. She strives to improve the platform by evaluating user needs, as well as developing plans for new features and implementing changes alongside the GFW team. You'll hear more from Teresa during our GFW platform demo. We'll also have an additional speaker joining us for the Q&A. Next slide. And I want to outline the goal of today's webinar, which is to provide an overview of GFW's integrated approach to visualizing deforestation alerts. And we'll also use this time to demonstrate how to access and use them. Next slide. I'll pass it on to Jessica to provide a quick overview of GFW, as well as walk us through the alert systems and the new integrated alert layer.
Thanks so much, Isabella. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Thanks so much for being here with us today. Next slide, please. So briefly, a little bit of background on Global Forest Watch for those of you who might not be familiar with it yet. Global Forest Watch offers an openly accessible suite of tools designed to enable experts and non-experts alike to access information about forest change and mobilize action. For example, by the private sector to reduce deforestation and supply chains, by civil society to detect and respond to forest threats, manage forest land. Next slide, please. So today we're going to be focused on a new feature related to the deforestation alert systems that are available on Global Forest Watch. These alert systems are a powerful resource to help forest protectors identify, respond to, and communicate about forest disturbance. So in the first image on the left, you'll see that satellites circle the Earth capturing images and collecting data. Then the computer algorithms work to mark any change that was detected from forest to forest cleared with a pink alert pixel. These alerts or pixels are then transmitted to authorities, landowners, and decision makers either through the Global Forest Watch online platform or the Forest Watcher mobile app that Isabella mentioned and that Colin will demonstrate later, so that these forest protectors can act on the alerts by either working with authorities or raising awareness through advocacy campaigns or the media. Next slide, please. And as you can see in this image, in the underlying satellite imagery, a road is developing in previously intact forests and then leads to clearing for a farm or a plantation. The pink alert pixels indicate when the clearing was first detected, acting as an early warning system to notify users of this change in near real time. Next slide, please. So there are now 3 different alert systems available through the Global Forest Watch platform. The first of these is the GLAD-L system, or the Landsat-based GLAD alerts. These were first available starting in 2017 in a few countries, and then in 2018 were rolled out to the entire Pan-tropics. They're available at a 30-meter resolution and are updated every 8 days. This system was followed by the GLAD Sentinel-2 based alerts, and also the RADD alerts, which were both launched last year. The GLAD S2 alerts are available right now just in the Amazon basin. They have a 10-meter resolution and a revisit time of every 5 days. And the radar-based RADD alerts are available in the Amazon basin, sub-Saharan Africa, and insular Southeast Asia. They also have a 10-meter resolution and a revisit time of every 6 to 12 days. Last year, we decided with the release of these new systems to integrate the 3 systems and to visualize them as an integrated layer on Global Forest Watch in order to take advantage of the strengths of each of the 3 systems. Next slide, please. So we decided to carry out a series of user interviews and surveys to understand which features would be most important to users when visualizing these new alert systems. And then we used the feedback from these surveys and interviews in our approach. We heard from most users that they were interested in knowing whether or not forest disturbance happened, and were agnostic as to which system the alert came from. So we decided to combine the alert systems into one visualized layer that would provide users with higher confidence. So when the independent alert system sources overlap, the integrated layer provides higher confidence than any one system alone that change actually occurred. They also provide faster information, because the layer harnesses the different detection speeds of the various alert systems to always provide users with the earliest information. It's more dependable. If something happens to the satellites providing data to one of the systems, the other systems will continue to provide that data through the integrated layer. It's easier to use because the layer provides all of the available data on forest change for an area without needing to understand which system works best in that geography. It also simplifies users' workflow when accessing deforestation alerts by providing alert counts and reporting on the area without double counting pixels. And finally, the integrated layer provides us with increased customization. Some more technical users who want to work with a specific system, so say they're most interested in the RADD alerts, will still have that option to access those independently. Next slide, please. So this is a screenshot of what the alerts look like on the Global Forest Watch platform, and you'll see more in the demonstration that Teresa will give shortly on how to access these alerts. I just wanted to show how they're visualized. You can see in the legend that there are 3 different confidence levels. The lightest pink alerts, which you can see towards the center of the screen, have only at the moment been detected by a single alert system, whereas the areas, the darkest pink, have been detected by multiple alert systems. Okay, next slide, please. And finally, for existing users of the Global Forest Watch platform, just wanted to show a few differences in terms of how the integrated layer both looks on the platform and what the functionality is, and how that may differ from what you're accustomed to. So previously, you had to toggle on the alert systems individually. Now you just toggle on the integrated layer as a default. Next, please. Also on the legend, previously there were 2 colors, yellow for recent alerts and then pink for all other alerts. Now you can see that there are 3 colors in the legend, as I showed in the screen grab prior. that indicate the level of confidence depending on the number of systems that have detected an alert and the number of times that that has been detected. Another important thing to note is that in the past, GLAD alerts had been available on the map back to 2015. However, because of the huge influx of new alerts, now all alert systems date back a maximum of 2 years on the map. However, if you would like to see historical GLAD alerts dating back previous to 2 years, you can access those still through the dashboards on Global Forest Watch. Next slide, please. And in terms of the analysis, previously the analysis only showed results for one system at a time. Now the analysis shows alert counts for all 3 systems, again, without double counting alerts, so making analysis a bit more straightforward. It also calculates the area affected, which can be used as an approximation of the extent of tree clearing, which is also a new feature that was highly requested from users through the user surveys and interviews that we did. Though as a caution, the alerts by nature were designed to be conservative. And so this area should be taken as an approximation. More precise extent of loss won't be available until the annual tree cover loss data is released the following year. And next slide, please. And finally, the email subscriptions that are available through the My GFW login feature on the platform have been integrated as well. You can now subscribe to the integrated alerts, so all systems at once, or continue to subscribe to individual systems if that's your preference. And if you subscribe to the integrated layer, the area affected will also be calculated in the email you receive. You'll also still be able to download alert coordinates from a link provided within the email. And so with that, now I will hand it back over to Isabella.
Thank you, Jessica, for that helpful introduction to the alert systems and the new integrated alert layer. Now you'll hear from Teresa on how you can access the integrated alerts on the GFW platform. Next slide, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Teresa Schofield and I work for the World Resources Institute as Global Forest Watch's product specialist. Today I'm going to provide a short demonstration on how to access and understand the new integrated deforestation alerts data via the Global Forest Watch website. First, let's go to the map by clicking Map at the top left here. On the map, 3 layers load by default. I'm going to switch them off so we can first focus on the alerts layer. You can find integrated deforestation alerts here under forest change on the left. If you'd like to know more about the methodology, citation, and coverage for alerts, or any layer for that matter, you can click on this information or metadata button for relevant details. This new layer combines 3 previously separate alert systems, GLAD-L, GLAD-S2, and RADD alerts. Each of these individual systems cover different areas and are updated at different time intervals. Here, in the Legend panel, you can select an individual alert system if you prefer, which I'll demonstrate now. Though we consider the integrated layer to be the best and latest source of monitoring information, some users may still prefer to reference an individual system. One potential reason someone might prefer to reference an individual system is that only one system has coverage in their region of interest, and the alerts might load faster by selecting one system at a time. For an example of the first reason, only GLAD alerts are currently available, for example, in the country of Mexico. You can verify if a system is available in a given country by looking at the metadata like we did earlier, or by turning on each system at a time while zoomed out. This is because when you're zoomed in, the higher resolution systems may take more time to load. I'd like to quickly note that GLAD-L alerts, which we're looking at now, have a 30-meter native resolution, while GLAD-S2 and RADD have a 10-meter native resolution. To integrate these alerting systems, GLAD-L is upsampled to match the 10-meter resolution of the other systems. You can access the 30-meter version of GLAD-L alerts by selecting that layer. For now, let's focus on the integrated alert layer and start by walking through confidence levels. This first category, detected by a single alert system, shows the lowest confidence level of alerts. This color will appear for areas that only saw one alert within the time range selected. High confidence indicates that loss was detected more than once by a single alert system within a pixel. The highest confidence this layer can offer is detection by more than one alert system at a time. You may notice that there are only 2 years of data available from the last date alerts were updated. Since these 3 alert system types, cover different time ranges, we made the decision to only show the data periods that overlap, thus the 2-year timeline. This integrated layer prioritizes providing an early indication of where deforestation may be happening so that users can follow up. In that sense, they prioritize speed over accuracy. For historic analysis, on the other hand, we encourage users to use the annual tree cover loss products, which prioritize accuracy over speed. I'd like to note that you can access data going further back than 2 years through the API and the dashboards. For instructions, see the link we'll post in the chat of the webinar. To select a shorter date range, you can either click and drag the ends of the timeline to specific days, or you can select dates on the calendar, which I'll go ahead and demonstrate. Note that if an alert is detected by multiple systems on different days, the alert may disappear when you adjust the time slider or flip between individual alerts versus the integrated layer. For more information, see metadata where we first went, or the explainer blog for this new layer. This geographic coverage layer shows coverage for whichever alert systems or system you've selected, which you can read about in the metadata. It's important to remember that these alert systems do have specific different limitations in coverage. Learn more about the geographic coverage of individual systems by selecting those layers and using this toggle, which I'll demonstrate now. You can also toggle this Show Only High and Highest Confidence Alerts option, which will allow you to only view higher confidence alerts. This question mark icon will describe what that means. For now, I'm going to revert back to the integrated alert system and then perform an analysis. I can, of course, click on a region, a country, a municipality, and then click Analyze if I want statistics for that area. But I'm interested in a cluster of alerts. So I'm going to go here and draw a shape around it. So I'll click here on the analysis panel. I'll click draw or upload shape, start drawing. It may take a minute for the tool to load. And then I will draw my shape. Analysis results will reflect the filters I've selected in the legend. So since I've chosen integrated alerts for a specific time period, I will only see results that respect those parameters. I can click back into the legend to update any filters, and then go back to the analysis results, which may take a moment to load. to see alert data. To share this analysis, I can click either the Share Analysis button here at the top right, or click the same icon at the bottom right of the map. You're offered the ability to share a link or an embed. I can also download these analysis results by saving this area and downloading stats through this download button, which you will need to save the area and reduce the alerts that you're viewing, perhaps by limiting the time range. I can do this on the map, but I can also do this on the dashboards, which we'll go to later. These alert download files list each alert's latitude and longitude, detection date, and confidence level per system. The same information is included when you download a file while viewing an individual alert system, just like GLAD S2 alerts instead of the integrated layer, for example. We'll go to the dashboards in a moment, but for now, I'm already logged into my GFW account, so I'm going to save this area. And here you'll see I can opt in to receive alerts, not just for potential deforestation, where I can choose the integrated alerts as the notifications I will receive, or individual alert systems. I can also receive the fire alerts from the VIIRS dataset if I choose, and a monthly summary. Now, notification emails will be sent whenever new forest change or fires are detected, and if you've received these emails in the past, you'll notice that new emails will note how much area was affected or covered by alerts, as opposed to a count of alert pixels. I'll save this area. If I want to, or if you want to access a saved area via the dashboards, click to go to the My GFW page at the top right portion of the site menu, where all your saved areas will be listed. You can click on the area and be sent to its dashboard page. I'm going to go find an area that has alerts. On the dashboards, we've adapted the forest change alerts widgets to match what you see on the map. Once it loads, I'll show you what I mean. And just like you will see in notification emails, these widgets note the area affected by these alerts. Go ahead and click on the forest change category. So here in the intersections button, you can select forest type or land category that you'd like to look at, as well as a date range, just like on the map, to examine, and whichever alert system or systems you'd like to view. That's all for now, but I want to stress how important it is to us that this new layer serves users who rely on these different alert systems. We'll send a survey to webinar participants and also welcome you to email us at gfw@wri.org with any feedback. We realize this new layout may come with challenges, so please tell us what you think. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Teresa. Now you'll hear from Colin on how you can access the integrated alerts on Forest Watcher.
Welcome. My name's Colin Stieff, a product manager with Global Forest Watch, or GFW. In the next few minutes, I will guide you through accessing deforestation alerts in Forest Watcher, GFW's free mobile application for accessing data in the field. The previous demo focused on the main GFW website, globalforestwatch.org, which is intended to be used on a desktop computer with good internet. This can be limiting for users who don't have regular access to these resources. For users in low connectivity settings, Forest Watcher is a more appropriate solution because, as we'll see, you can access deforestation and fire alerts offline and in the field. Forest Watcher is primarily a mobile application that's available for both iOS and Android devices and in 7 different languages. But Forest Watcher also has a web application, shown here, that provides some advanced features related to teams and custom report templates. You can access the web application at forestwatcher.globalforestwatch.org. Today's demonstration will focus on the mobile application, but I may mention Forest Watcher Web during the demo to highlight specific features you can learn more about by accessing our Help Center materials. Let's get started with the mobile app, which I'll switch to now. When you first open Forest Watcher, you will see an initial login screen shown here. I'm using an iOS device, but everything will work the same and look similar if you're using an Android device. If you already have a MyGFW account that you use for the main GFW website, we encourage you to use the same account when logging into Forest Watcher. If you do so, you will have access to the same saved areas in both applications. If you don't have an account, you can use a social login to register within the app or tap the Sign Up button to register with an email and password in your mobile browser. I previously signed up for a MyGFW account using Gmail, so I'll use that same account here. Once you log in, the application will begin downloading data to your mobile device so you can access it offline. This is an important point to keep in mind. In most cases, you need an internet connection before you use the application offline. You can learn about more ways to share data offline from one device to another with our Help Center materials. At this point, the application is downloading all the areas of interest saved in my account. It is also downloading the last 12 months of deforestation and fire alerts that occurred in those areas of interest, up to a maximum of 10,000 alerts per area. When Forest Watcher finishes downloading your content, it will highlight any new features available in the application with the latest update. Once we tap Continue, we see the main menu. To start exploring alerts in your area of interest, tap on the Areas button. Here, you'll see a list of your saved areas. In my case, I have 2 that I created on the main GFW website. Note that you can create a new area of interest from within Forest Watcher by tapping on the green plus button at the top right of the screen. Tap on one of your areas to see more details. You'll see a map of satellite imagery, the boundary of your area of interest in green, and 1 or more pink circles that represent groups of alerts in this area. Move around the map by swiping your finger across the screen. Move towards the Earth by moving 2 fingers away from one another, making a spread gesture. Move away from the Earth by moving 2 fingers towards one another, making a pinch gesture. The pink circle on the screen represents a group of alerts that we sometimes refer to as a cluster. The number in the center of the circle indicates how many alerts are in that group. In this case, we know that this group has 29 alerts. To find out exactly where these alerts are located, we can move towards the Earth on our map by using the spread gesture. You'll notice that as we move closer, the groups split apart into different groups that are closer to the actual location of the alerts. Eventually, when we're close enough, the pink circle disappears and we can see the individual alert pixels. Each pixel represents a single alert. If we tap a single pixel on the map, it will turn green to indicate that it's been selected. We can find more information about it in the panel that appears. In this example, we can see that this pixel represents a RADD deforestation alert issued on March 31st. Tap the X button to cancel your selection, or you can tap outside on any location in the map. Previously, we learned how the main GFW website provides access to the new integrated deforestation alert layer, which combines 3 different alerting systems into a single grid. Forest Watcher works a little differently. In Forest Watcher, users can visualize the alerting systems individually on the same map, but they are treated as different layers. Before we see what this looks like, let's explore the layer panel, where you can control which alerting systems are visible for a specific time frame. We can access the layer panel by tapping the gear icon in the top right of the screen. In this panel, we can turn 4 different layer types on and off. This includes alerts, routes, reports, and contextual layers. For now, we'll focus on the alert layers, but you can find out more about the other types in our Help Center. Only alerts are shown by default, as indicated by the green check mark on the right side. To access the options for the alert layer, tap the gear icon underneath the alerts label. On this screen, we can see the 3 different deforestation alerting systems available in Forest Watcher: GLAD-L, also referred to as GLAD, GLAD-S2, and RADD. All 3 systems are turned on by default, as indicated by the green check marks next to their labels. You may notice the legend at the top of the screen with the pink and green squares. This tells us that green pixels on the map represent alerts that you have already investigated and created a report for, and pink pixels represent alerts that you have not reported on. We'll learn about reports shortly. You can turn individual systems off by tapping their label. For example, I'll tap RADD to turn that layer off, and tap it again to turn it back on. You can find out more information about each layer by tapping the label, what alert types are available. This information is also available in the FAQ section, which you can find in the settings menu of the app. If I go back one screen and scroll down, I can also see the option to set my time frame. By default, the map shows alerts within the last month. Let's change that by tapping on 1 month and selecting 6 months instead. I can save my choice by tapping Done. Before going back to the map, I also want to point out that if you scroll down, you can also access VIIR's fire alerts from this panel. Back in the map, you can see that there were other alerts in this area between 1 and 6 months ago. If I move away from the Earth, you can see that we now have access to many more alerts, all of which occurred in the past 6 months. Now let's visit a location where multiple alert types are present. Here we can see that there are overlapping pixels from different alerting systems. The bigger pixels represent GLAD-L alerts and cover roughly a 30 by 30 meter area for each, and the smaller pixels represent RADD alerts and cover roughly a 10 by 10 meter area each. The layers are slightly transparent so that when they overlap, they appear a darker shade of pink. In general, we're more confident that these areas represent deforestation because multiple systems marked that area with an alert. Let's select a group of alerts to investigate and create a report about. Tap on multiple alerts to create a group selection, which allows you to create a report associated with multiple alerts. Instead of tapping each alert one by one, you can also use the Select All Connected Alerts button to conveniently do so with a single tap. I'll do that now. The information panel tells us that we have a group selection composed of 33 GLAD alerts and 11 RADD alerts issued between December 28, 2021 and March 7, 2022. Once you make your final selection, you have 2 options. One option is to begin tracking a route by tapping the green play button in the bottom left of the screen. This feature will record your location as you navigate towards the selected alerts. The other option is to create a report for the selection by tapping the report button on the bottom right of the screen. Let's create a report. Once we tap the report button, a form appears on the screen with a series of questions. This represents the default form that is automatically provided for you by the application. Forest Watcher does allow you to create custom templates, but this is another advanced feature only available when using Forest Watcher Web. Let's move through the form. The first question lets you attach a photo, but we'll skip this for now. Do you see deforestation or degradation? I'll tap Unsure and go Next. Do you think further action should be taken in this area? I'll tap No and tap Next. I don't have any other notes, so I will just tap Next. Once you complete all the questions, you can review the final report. At the bottom of this screen, you can tap Send to save the report. If you're online, your report is automatically synced with the web application when you tap the Submit button. If you're offline, it is stored on your device. We can see the details of reports we've submitted in the Reports section of the application. Let's head there now. We can see the report we just created in this list. It's been uploaded, which means that we can view the details of this report in Forest Watcher Web. If you created this in an area associated with your team, then your manager can also view this report on Forest Watcher Web. It's important to note that reports created when you are not connected to the internet do not automatically sync to Forest Watcher Web. You need to do this manually. Let's see how to do this while we explore another feature called Offline Mode. If we go to the Settings section of the app, We have access to offline mode, which prevents Forest Watcher from trying to connect to the internet and can save you battery life and limit cellular data transfer. Let's toggle this on and head back to our area to create another report. This time, I'll use the pin button in the bottom right to create a report for a location I specify on the map. You do not need to associate a report with any alerts. You can create one for any location. Once I select my location, I'll quickly create another report. When I submit this report, notice that the app does not notify me that it was sent to the web. If I go back to the reports section, I can see our new report is categorized as completed, but not uploaded. To sync this report to Forest Watcher Web, I first need to turn off offline mode. In the reports list, I can tap on the completed report, then tap the share button in the top right corner. Here, I'll tap upload, but notice that I can also share this report as a bundle that can be uploaded to other devices with Forest Watcher or a CSV file. Once I hit upload, I can now be confident that my report is synced to the web. This concludes our demo of Forest Watcher. Please visit the Help Center to see more in-depth webinars and training materials to learn how to use all the features Forest Watcher has to offer. Well,
Thank you to Colin for the helpful information. I'm now going to hand over to Jessica to share some final concluding thoughts before our Q&A. Next slide.
Thanks, Isabella. So just before we moved into the Q&A, we'd like to share a few resources if you're interested in learning more about the integrated alert layer. Global Forest Watch's Help Center, which is accessible through globalforestwatch.org on the main menu, contains step-by-step tutorials and other guidance on using the alerts. The recording of this webinar will be sent out to all registrants afterwards and will also be posted and made available through the Help Center within the next week or so if you'd like to review it. Global Forest Watch's blog also provides further details on the integrated deforestation alert layer and why we decided to implement this. The Global Forest Watch Community Forum is a great place to go to ask questions and interact with other Global Forest Watch users, user community to talk about the alerts. And of course, you can always contact us at any time using our email, gfw@wri.org. In addition, a short survey will appear when this webinar ends. We encourage you to complete it since this feature is brand new. And we'd love to hear your feedback and suggestions if you have any for improvement to the integrated alerts. Back to you, Isabella.
Great. Thank you, Jessica, and thanks everyone for joining. We'll go to our next slide, please. For our Q&A, we have Jessica, Colin, Teresa, and I are joined by Annika Berger from GFW. Annika is a research analyst with Global Forest Watch. She supports efforts to develop new forest monitoring data sets for GFW's platform, and she analyzes trends in deforestation and communicates research outputs to external audiences. So we'll now open up for Q&A. If you have a question, please enter it through the Q&A button in Zoom. And we'll get started shortly. We have a few questions that were already submitted through this Q&A function. The first one is, my understanding is that the GLAD alerts have not been released for 2022 yet. So does that mean that the integrated deforestation alerts only cover the regions where RADD and GLADIS alerts are available? I'll hand that off to Annika to take on that first question.
Thank you, Isabella, and thank you for your question. For anyone who's not aware, the Landsat satellite, which powers the GLAD-L alerts, just underwent a change in processing as of the end of 2021. And in response, our data providers at the University of Maryland have temporarily paused the operation of GLAD L alerts in order to adjust their methods and algorithm to adapt to the new change. So the team is wrapping up this reprocessing effort now. So we expect the GLAD L alerts to resume on Global Forest Watch in the coming weeks. And when they resume updating, the GLAD L alerts will be more spatially aligned with the other deforestation alert products and be available for from the start of this year. And like we've mentioned before, it was good timing to release the new integrated layer that can continue updating with the alerts from other systems, even while one system is experiencing interruptions. And luckily, with the remaining two systems, we're still able to get pantropical coverage, as RADD alerts are available in primary forests in South America, the Congo Basin, and insular Southeast Asia.
Great, thanks, Annika. We also have a question regarding how the alerts are validated. Jessica, would you like to take on that question?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thanks, Justine, for the question. So when developing the algorithm, our research partners at the University of Maryland and Wageningen University use lots of training data to ensure that the models and algorithms are as accurate as possible. However, the algorithms on their own cannot differentiate, illegal deforestation from tree clearing or tree cover loss. And so that's where the users of the alerts come in. The first step we would recommend in terms of validating the alerts is using high resolution recent satellite imagery. There are a couple different options available through the Global Forest Watch platform. The best of these for alert validation is most likely the planet satellite imagery. You can see monthly mosaics dating back several years, and then 6 months before that. But the process would be to go onto the platform, look at the area affected by alerts, and then go back in time to see when the alerts disturbance first started happening. But then also looking at the underlying imagery to see what was the likely cause of the alerts. Like, does it look like a farm or plantation? Like, does it have very clear and obvious geometric edges, or does it look something like a more natural event, which is an actual deforestation, like a meandering river or something like that? And then the other step, of course, for validating the alerts that's important is using tools like the Forest Watcher mobile app and going into the field and actually doing investigation. So traveling to the alert site and then observing, also documenting through photos and other evidence. Oftentimes, of course, for official investigations of deforestation in most countries, field visit has to accompany the satellite data in order to be able to use it for legal purposes, like a lawsuit or any sort of criminal prosecution. So again, the alerts are a very useful resource to be able to monitor large areas at one time, and also efficient in that you don't have to go out and depend just on field patrols, but they do often need to be backed up by additional investigation before action can be taken. So thank you for the question.
Great. And we also had a question regarding when will the GLAD alerts continue to update, and when in Southeast Asia in particular, when will the GLAD S2 alerts be added? I'll hand that over to Annika to address.
Thank you. So we mentioned that the GLAD alerts will be resuming promptly, hopefully later this month. And a great question about when the GLAD S2 alerts will be available in Southeast Asia and other geographies. So the creators of the alert systems each have plans to expand the alert systems to full pantropical coverage, though it takes time to develop the model for different geographies. Specifically, the GLAD S2 alerts are planned to expand to the Congo Basin next, and then on to pantropical coverage, though we don't have a clear timeline for when that will happen.
Great. Thanks so much, Annika. We also have a question regarding the criteria or threshold to define different degrees of deforestation, such as the criteria recognized by local governments. In Chile, it's been a permanent legal and technical discussion. I'll hand that over to Jessica.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Juan, for the question. So yes, so the alerts again, and the other data, the annual tree cover loss that's available through Global Forest Watch, are again an important tool or resource in order to be able to understand the dynamics of tree cover change. But then all of the other sorts of considerations, such as legality or thresholds for what is permissible or not under certain regulations that are either voluntary or mandatory, compliance with zero deforestation commitments. All of that needs to be defined by the creators or stakeholders that are part of those processes, and that really differs not only from country to country, but sometimes within different ministries or agencies within individual countries. So yes, there are a lot of countries that use the data for benchmarks to be able to understand how forest cover is changing within their countries, but that really differs from place to place. So I hope that answered your question, but please feel free to follow up with us over email if you'd like more information or examples from other countries.
We also have a question regarding how valuable raster warnings are. So although valuable for analysts, raster warnings aren't easy to manage on field campaign contexts where officials and local groups generally use vectorized warning data, such as polygons. Do we plan to publish this kind of data? I'll hand this over to Colin to address.
Yeah, thanks for the question. We don't have immediate plans to offer the integrated layer as a vector file to download, the complete global coverage or what we have. There's some open questions about what would be most useful to users. So we have a survey link going out after the webinar. We encourage you to fill that out so we can understand, what you need with respect to vector data. But you can download the alerts as a CSV file, which includes latitude and longitude. So you could use that CSV file and upload it to a GIS program or other things for your specific needs. And you can access that download functionality in the main platform, in the map or the dashboard, or through our API. And if you're interested, we link to some developer resources about the GFW data API in the chat. Also for local context, as we showed, Forest Watcher is a good solution for accessing alerts in very specific places. Thanks.
Colin. We also have a question regarding how we can access the date and confidence of each alert. I'll hand this over to Teresa.
Thank you for the question, Sylvia. You can access this information, the date and confidence of each alert, by downloading a file of the alerts. And like Colin said, this file also includes information on the coordinates of individual alerts, along with the alert type. I hope that's helpful.
Colin, so is it possible to download in a raster format any of the 3 alert systems or the integrated alert layer? This one's from Maria.
Sure, yeah. You can't download the entirety of the raster layer. It's just too big of a file, and we upload it. We update it, pretty regularly. So that would be difficult to offer as a complete download. But you can access a visualization of the raster layer through our API. And again, we linked to the developer resources in the chat.
Great. I have a follow-up question from Andre of why do you use pink color for the alert pixels? Teresa, would you like to take that one?
I'm so sorry. I actually do not know the most thorough answer to that. I would be happy to follow up by email if you go ahead and message us at gfw@wi.org.
We also received a question regarding, is it possible to access data on forest restoration and forest recovery? We'll follow up with our GFW experts, but in the meantime, please feel free to send us an email at the gfw@wi.org account, and we'll follow up with you there directly.
I can add something about that. It's for forest recovery. It's much more difficult to detect and measure with satellite imagery as compared to forest loss or tree cover loss. Since tree cover loss is so abrupt, right? Like you know, if there is a tree in the imagery, you cut down the tree, it's a very, very large change. Whereas as trees go back, that process happens very slowly. So it's been a bit more challenging. There is a tree cover gain layer, which is available through Global Forest Watch, but it's not updated regularly for that reason. It does give some sort of indication of where forests are returning or coming back. However, through Global Forest Watch's new Land and Carbon Lab initiative and in partnership with WRI's forest restoration team and partners at University of Maryland and others, we are working on producing at least an annual tree cover gain layer, as well as other data sets, which will be useful for monitoring forest recovery and restoration compliance. So more on that soon. I'd say in the next year or so, we should have much better data on restoration.
Great, and I see a pending question from Fiona regarding, can you use the system to get rates of deforestation, including the area in hectares? I'll hand it over to Teresa to provide a little background related to that.
Yeah, so one of the things I'll say is in this change in integrating alerts, we have changed the numbers that we present. Before, we presented a pixel count of alerts, which didn't speak to the area of hectares potentially being deforested. With this change, though, we have changed to quantifying how many hectares may have been affected. So as you look at alerts over time through the system on the map or the dashboards, you should be able to see the change over time. I'll invite, though, Colin and Jessica perhaps to chime in with any additional thoughts.
Yeah, sure. I'll just add that you can see the area of alerts that are in your current selection. So if you're using the main, GFW website in the widgets, and then, we showed the subscription emails as well in the demo. And if you subscribe to alerts for your saved area of interest, then you can view the area affected by alerts in those emails as well.
Great. Thanks so much, Colin, Teresa. We can still take a few more questions. So if you have any questions, please type them in the chat. We have about 5 more minutes left for questions. A question from Sophia. Last time she checked, the tree cover layer, included TTC, which is greater than 10%. Is there an option to visualize TTC from 1 to 10%? I'll hand this over to Colin.
Yeah, thanks again for the question. I think you're referring to the tree cover loss layer. If not, please help us understand what you're referring to with TTC. But if you're referring to the tree cover loss layer, currently there's not an option to access the canopy cover less than 10%.
Well, thank you all for answering your questions and addressing your questions during this Q&A. It was so nice to meet you all. And please, if you have any other questions that we didn't address during this session, you can email us anytime. We'll go back to the slides so I can capture some events coming up on GFW. And just want to thanks again for joining our webinar. We would love to hear your feedback on GFW on this webinar to make sure we're making it as useful for users like you. So right after this webinar ends, a brief survey will pop up on your screen, and this will help us solicit any feedback. So please share any feedback that you have about today's webinar or the integrated alerts. And we'll also share this recording and a copy of the presentation within the next few business days. So please keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, I wanted to highlight some upcoming events. We have the Small Grants Fund 2023 cycle coming up. This fund provides financial and technical support to organizations around the world to use GFW tools and data to turn forest monitoring into action. So keep an eye out. We'll have a webinar on how to apply for this grant in June. Additionally, we'll have office hours, which will give the opportunity to meet with the GFW expert, where you can ask any questions related to the alerts on June 28th. I'll share the registration link in the chat, and this is your opportunity to ask any other questions you may have about the alerts that we didn't address today. And that's all from us. So thank you again for joining. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at gfw@wri.org. Thanks again, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.